Hi there, and welcome to a series of tutorials on APA format and style. I am Professor Mary Ann Fallon from the Department of Psychological Science at Central Connecticut State University. And in this tutorial, I will show you how to set up your paper in APA format using Microsoft Word. We'll talk about margins, fonts and appropriate sizing, line spacing, the running head, and page numbers. So here we are in Microsoft Word. Now I'm using a Mac, but the process is basically the same in a PC. So first let's set the margins. We're going to go to the Format menu and select Document. APA format requires 1-inch margins on all sides of your paper, so we'll change the margins to 1 inch. Top and bottom are okay. Let's change the left to 1 as well as right. We'll keep the header and footer margins at 1/2 inch. Now, if you would like to keep these settings all of the time, click on the Default button. But for now, we're just going to hit OK. Now, another way of changing margins is to move the slider bars in the ruler. So I can go over here to change the top margin. We'll keep it at 1 inch. And I can come over here to change the left margin. But this is tricky. I don't want to change the left indent. I don't want to change the hanging indent. I don't want to change the first line indent either. There it is. I have to get my cursor just right to find the left margin. Then I can hold my left mouse key down and move it. Now this method works, but it can be imprecise. Let's talk about font. According to the APA manual, the preferred typeface for APA publications is 12-point Times New Roman font. So let's set that up. We can see under the Home tab that there is a panel called Font. Let's set the font to Times New Roman. And Times New Roman is pretty popular, so it's under Font Collections and Web. And here it is. Or you could scroll down through your list of fonts and find it. We also need to set the size to 12. Perfect. So it's important to set your font before you type anything, because this way, everything you type will be in 12-point Times New Roman font. You'll never have to think about it again as you're progressing through your paper. There's another way of setting up the font as well. You can go back up to the Format menu, select Font, and choose Times New Roman and size this way. This also has the added benefit of being able to select Times New Roman with 12-point font as your default font and size. So let's do that. I'm going to click on Default, and yes, I do want to change my normal template. This will make life a lot easier down the road, as you will see. Next up is line spacing. You need to double space between all lines in your manuscript. The only exception to this rule is for tables and figures, which you'll learn about in another screencast. To double space, make sure that you're on the Home tab and look at the panel called Paragraph. We're going to go to this icon here and choose 2.0. Now everything we type after this point will be double spaced. Another way of setting up line spacing is to go to the Format menu and select Paragraph. From here, you can choose double spacing. It is also acceptable to select at least 24-point spacing. Regardless of your method, there should be no more than 27 lines on a single page. Also, be aware that your version of Microsoft Word may have an extra amount of spacing after a paragraph. Now this looks nice, but it is not APA style. Let's add a 0 here. This will ensure that no extra spacing is added after hard returns. And we'll click OK. Now you need to format your running head and page numbers, which appear on the top of every page in your manuscript. Now these can be pretty tricky to format. First, we're going to go to the View menu and select Header and Footer. Now before you type anything, go to the Header and Footer panel in the ribbon and select Different First Page. You'll see now that the label for the header has changed to First Page Header. This is very important, and you'll see why in a couple of minutes. Now we'll place the cursor in the header and we'll type Running Head, followed by a colon. Notice that you capitalize the R, but not the H. We'll include a space after the colon, and then you type your running head in caps. So for this paper, my running head is going to be Anxiety, Procrastination, and GPA. Remember, the running head is an abbreviated version of your title. It should not exceed 50 characters, including spaces. Now let's get your page number in there. We'll hit Tab, and you'll notice that the cursor jumps to the right. Now look in the ruler. Do you see this little arrow? That's the location of the tab. You want your page number to be as far over to the right margin as possible. So let's go up to the ruler, select that tab, and move it over to the right margin. We don't want to get right on the right margin because we're probably going to have more than 9 pages in our document, so we need to allow a little bit of extra space when we get into the double digits. You'll notice that your cursor automatically moves over to the right margin as well. Now click on Page Number, and it automatically appears in the top right corner. Super! Now let's close our header. We have our cursor in the body of the text, and we're going to insert a page break. Now we're on page 2. Notice that you have no running head or page number. That's to be expected because you told Microsoft Word that you will have a different first page header than the rest of your document. So again, let's go to View, Header, and Footer. Beautiful. Now we're going to retype the running head, but without the words running head. And as before, we're going to insert our page number. Tab to the right, adjust the tab space, and click on Page Number. You should see the number 2 appear automatically. Now every subsequent page should look like this page in the manuscript, except that the page number should increase. To prove it, let's close out of the header and place the cursor in the body of the text. Now let's insert a page break again. Voila! Page 3. Now you are all set to begin typing your paper. So in this tutorial, you learned how to set your margins to 1 inch for APA formatting. You learned how to set your font to Times New Roman and the size to 12 points. And you want to make sure that that font and sizing is also carried through in your running head. You learned how to set line spacing to double space and to make sure that there are no extra spaces after hard returns. And finally, you saw how to format a running head that's different on the first page than the rest of the manuscript. We also put in page numbers that were flush right with the right margin. Now you have an overall template for your paper. So far, so good. Hope to see you again. Bye now.